MJF does nothing for me. Anyone that says he's a great heel is fucking delusional and just wants to be accepted in this new age of pro wrestling fans. I hope Moxley beats him in 10 seconds. If he doesn't and they let this match go 15 minutes and MJF, who sucks at wrestling, and Moxley's going to have to carry him through this whole match, and it's just going to be bad.
Charlotte Flair does not have to be involved in the first of everything or the major angle of everything involving the women in your company. Now you expect me to believe that she's going to win the Royal Rumble and go down to NXT and help make Rhea Ripley a star? She's probably going to end up beating Rhea Ripley and going down to NXT and, I don't want to say ruin a perfectly good women's division, but kind of hold things up down there. She was forced into the main event of last year's WrestleMania. She's involved in the first of everything when it comes to the women. Give it a rest for a little bit.
And sure enough, Goldberg wins the Universal title. And I'm like, I can't believe they actually did this stupid mistake again. We don't need a 53-year-old man with a barbed wire tattoo who was relevant about 20-something years ago in a title match at the biggest pay-per-view of the year. I'm getting tired of part-timers walking into WrestleMania with the title. The Rock a couple years ago. Lesnar seems to be doing it every year where he walks in with the title and drops it. Why can't we have two full-time guys wrestle for the fucking title? I mean, how hard is that?
Welcome to another edition of the Hot Tag Wrestling Podcast. I am your host, Justin C., joined once again this week by my co-host, the chairman, Steven Vincent. Unfortunately, Cam cannot be on with us tonight. Here to recap WrestleMania Backlash from this past Sunday. Also here to talk about the other ongoings in the world of WWE and AEW. And this week, even though Cam couldn't join us again, we are going to do our 20 years of Randy Orton that we planned on doing the last few weeks. We got 20 years of Batista coming up. We're going to have 20 years of John Cena coming up. So there's going to be a lot of this stuff to get to. So we want to get it out of the way now. So we'll do that to close out the show, looking back at the career of Randy Orton. But let's start with WrestleMania Backlash from this past Sunday. A show where I feel like, I shouldn't say not a lot happened because there was, obviously, with Ronda Rousey winning the SmackDown Women's title. But the wrestling on the show, I thought, was very, very good. I thought the six-man tag was great. I thought the Ronda-Charlotte match was much better than their WrestleMania match. It was a low bar to jump, but I thought it was much better than what we had. Like I said on Twitter, I think on Sunday night, it helped that they had the bells and whistles of it being an I Quit match where they could go out there, they could use kendo sticks, they could use chairs, they could do whatever they want and not have to have an actual real wrestling match in the ring. Edge and AJ Styles was, again, I also thought better than the WrestleMania match, so good for them. Cody and Seth was very good again. I'm not sure which one was better there. Madcap Moss and Corbin was in a dead spot. Nobody cared about that anyway, even though it got a video package and, Osmosis, Omos, and Lashley, whatever. But, like I said, from a consequential storyline perspective, outside of Ronda winning, nothing too much really happened. But I thought for 2.5 hours of a wrestling show, it was good. The wrestling was good, and that's the least I could ask for in WWE nowadays. That I was pretty much entertained wrestling-wise from the matches from start to finish. What do you think, Chairman? What are your thoughts on the show?
I just didn't watch the show. I followed along, and obviously I heard a lot of good things like you just talked about the wrestling matches. I heard the wrestling was good. Maybe if I ever get time, maybe I'll jump back and check some of those matches out. I'm a big Seth Rollins fan. I like Cody. I think that match would be something I would like to check out if I got the time. Same with Edge and AJ Styles. Everything else in the card was kind of whatever to me. Six-man tag, I'm sure, was probably solid. I heard a lot of good things about it. The finish was kind of less desired, in my opinion. There's a lot of stuff that happened on this event. Obviously we had Ronda win the title, which is disgusting. But I guess Charlotte's taking the time off. I guess her and Andrade are getting married, so he'll be off AEW. Not that he'll be noticed anyway, because he's barely around anyway. Because they don't have anything for him, because, they got so much going on over there. And it looks like just, Edge and Damian Priest acquired a new asset in Rhea Ripley, so that's exciting. Pretty much anybody that knew that was going to happen. We all heard the rumors, so it's official now. And now we're just waiting for the final domino to fall because everyone keeps speculating there's going to be a fourth member. So I mean, there's definitely some like good storyline stuff advancing. Hell in a Cell's come up in a couple weeks, so I mean, WrestleMania Backlash. A lot of these feuds are going to probably go on for another month before we get the Money in the Bank. Because it looks like Cody and Seth will probably fight again, and it's just like, oh man, they love their trilogies in WWE, don't they?
Yes, they do. So yeah, let's just talk about some of the storyline fallout here from the show. Of course, like I said, I think the biggest thing storyline-wise is Ronda Rousey winning the SmackDown women's title from Charlotte Flair. They're playing up that Charlotte has a fracture, I believe, of the radius. But like as Chairman said, she's getting married to Andrade sometime soon. So I think I saw her say something else. She picked out her wedding dress last week or something. So I'm assuming it's getting close. So she's going to be taking time off. And, criticisms of Charlotte aside, I think it's well deserved. She's been on TV pretty much all throughout the pandemic, I think, for the most part up to now. And, it freshens things up on SmackDown where, I know Chairman's not the biggest fan of Ronda Rousey, but it's nice to have somebody different, at least, on top of SmackDown and not having it be the same Charlotte Flair promo every single week where she's trying to say the same thing over and over and over again. And it's just like, okay, you're doing this on repeat here. Come on, let's get this over with. So at least it freshens up the top, I guess, of the SmackDown Women's Championship side, or just the SmackDown Women's side in general, on SmackDown, and I'm wondering who could possibly be next. It seems like Lacey Evans was gone from SmackDown and now she's over on Raw. I don't know, and so I doubt she's a choice there. I know Raquel Gonzalez has been on SmackDown the last few weeks, but she really hasn't done too much, so I don't think she's an option. Alexa Bliss came back on Raw, so she's over there. I kind of feel like it trickles down to a returning Bayley coming back on SmackDown to be Ronda Rousey's first challenger, because the SmackDown side of things, I mean, Sasha Banks is a tag team champion with Naomi. They're fighting Natalya and Shayna Baszler this week, I think, on SmackDown. So it seems like the options for like SmackDown to challenge Ronda are very small and very few and far between. I think when you just kind of put pieces together, I think you get to Bayley being Ronda's first challenger. What do you think, Chairman?
Yeah, it's definitely a possibility because Bayley's been, she's tweeting, she's still active. She's obviously, paying attention to what's going on. But I feel like, they just brought Asuka back. They just brought Alexa back. I don't feel like they're going to want to bring everybody back at the same time. So Bayley might be someone we might be waiting for maybe another month or two. I don't know if she's going to be Ronda's first opponent, honestly. I just don't think that's going to happen. I'm trying to think here, like SmackDown women's roster. I mean, I see Sonya Deville now is no longer a authority figure, so maybe that will. But is she on Raw or SmackDown? I mean, I don't even know who was on what show anymore.
I guess I mean she technically wrestled on Raw this past Monday, but I don't know if that means she's officially a member of the Raw brand.
Yeah, but she's a heel anyway.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
Well, Rodney, she thinks she's a face. They want her to be a face, but she don't want to be a face. I don't think she's a face. I think she's trash. But yeah, I mean, Charlotte's gonna be off the scene. So I guess the one good thing about Charlotte taking a leave of absence is we don't get like another rematch, and then Charlotte wins the title for like the 14th, 15th time chasing her old man. But like Aaliyah, I mean, is she really gonna be the next one up, or Raquel Rodriguez?
Oh yeah, I called her Gonzalez, didn't I? My bad.
Yeah. Shayna Baszler, I mean, maybe they can kick that one off. That'd be kind of cool, actually. Or Shotzi, Xylee. Yeah, the SmackDown women's roster compared to the Raw one, it's night and day difference. And obviously, their big star, Sasha, she's hanging out with Naomi right now as a tag champion. So it's like, Ronnie will probably just go off the grid, honestly, next month for Hell in a Cell. She probably won't defend the title. You probably won't see her till Money in the Bank when they do the stadium show, honestly. And by then, Charlotte might be back for the rematch. So honestly, I don't think there's really a worthy contender. They're probably just gonna have Ronnie hide off in the sunset for a few months.
Yeah, I mean, if you go look at the SmackDown Women's roster, here it is: Aaliyah, Charlotte Flair, Naomi, Natalya, Raquel, Ronda, Sasha, Shayna Baszler, Shotzi, and Xylee. Maybe Xylee will step up and be. I think I saw Xylee randomly turned heel a couple weeks ago. Maybe she'll be Ronda's first challenger there. Who knows? But yeah, speaking of SmackDown, we talk about, you bring up Ronda being possibly going on hiatus. There was news coming out this week that Roman Reigns was not advertised for a lot of shows coming up during the summer, and apparently he cut a promo in Trenton, New Jersey the other day where he said this may be something along the lines of, this may be the last time I'm in Trenton. So automatically let the people speculating that, like, oh no, what's going on with Roman? Is he taking time off? Is he doing a reduced schedule? And apparently, from what it seems from a lot of the news sites, is that Roman signed a new deal, but it's for less dates. So he still plans on being on TV and on the premium live events that take place on the network. But as far as house shows go, if like the smaller towns, he's probably not going to be going to all of them. So that kind of seems to be the case there. I personally don't have a problem. First of all, I don't go to house shows anyway if they're in town. I can't even think the last time I went to a house show years and years and years ago. So it wouldn't bother me, but it makes sense. You got enough guys now on your roster where, yeah, Roman's probably be like the biggest draw as far as getting there, as far as people wanting to go there goes, but I don't know, I'm fine with him. He's a guy, he's been like the top guy in the business for the last 2 years, at least in the WWE. He's gone through a lot of stuff in his own personal life with as far as his cancer goes and coming back and going back into remission. The guy's got a family. I think he's got like 2 sets of twins, if I'm not mistaken. You want to give this guy time off? By all means, go right ahead. You want to preserve his body where he only shows up on TV and wrestles on premium live events? I'm fine with that. As long as he's still on TV as champion, it really doesn't bother me too much. Does it bother you at all, Chairman?
My thing is, he doesn't need to be on SmackDown or Raw every week. I don't want to see him do a Brock Lesnar and go off, the grid for like months on end. I don't want that. But I feel like, he's put his time in. He's obviously a very important part of WWE. I feel like, he doesn't need to work those small house shows and towns like mine of like 60,000 people. It's like, yeah, it sucks, but there's enough WWE star power that people are still going to go to the show regardless if Roman Reigns is there or not. So it's like you said, save his body, preserve his body. Obviously see him long term as a champion. He's been the champion now forever. So both champions now. I'm just kind of curious. Like, I saw someone tweet today that they pulled him off the Hell in a Cell advertising, so he's probably not doing that show. But then, obviously, he got 2 big stadium shows in July with Money in the Bank and SummerSlam. So I would hope he would be doing those 2 shows, especially if he's the champion for both brands. It's just kind of weird that they kind of like started a Shinsuke feud like a few weeks ago, then they kind of just deterred from it. But obviously with Drew McIntyre kind of being the singles wrestler in the 6-man from WrestleMania Backlash, I almost feel like he might be the next big challenger. And that, do you do it at Money in the Bank? Do you do it at SummerSlam? I'm sure they probably want to save it for the show in, UK coming up in September. But yeah, I don't think Roman needs to be there every week. Honestly, I feel like his character is, it's getting a little repetitive, honestly, at this point, because, it's been like 2 years now almost of this, and it's great, don't get me wrong, but, it's almost like every week we're hearing the same thing, head of the table, bloodline, blah, blah, blah. It's like, unless he gets some big boy feud like a Drew McIntyre, I don't need to see Roman Reigns on TV every week, honestly, at this point.
Yeah, I almost feel like if they want to hold off that Drew McIntyre program till the Clash of the Castle, like they probably brought it in a month too early, because I don't trust them to stretch this out to September. Who knows if that's actually the plan? But like you said, it's probably going to be at one of the stadium shows. But I'm with you. Like I said, I don't watch week to week now. I don't watch every week now anyway. So to me, if he misses a week, it's not too big of a deal. I normally just catch up on the highlights. Like I said, I haven't been home on a Friday night, I don't think, in the last month, so I haven't really watched SmackDown. And if I have been home, I've been watching a lot of NBA and NHL playoffs because it's that time of year. But yeah, I'm fine with it. And as far as Roman, I think you're looking at Hell in a Cell. I got a feeling that you're probably looking at maybe the Seth Cody trilogy main event there. I got a feeling that's probably where it's going to end up as far as your main event goes. And then maybe you can do a Becky and Asuka match inside the Cell, especially if you're not going to do Ronda Charlotte right away. Charlotte catching up to trying to catch her dad in title reigns, and also maybe it's her 3rd marriage, I think, too. So she's trying to catch her dad there too. Maybe give her some time off, and hopefully this marriage works for her. but there's not. I mean, like, I guess you can kind of say Cody Seth at this point could use a sell. Yeah, it's only been a few months feud, but what the hell? Why not? It's probably out of all the matches they've done in Hell in a Cell the last few years, the one that might actually warrant it, like, I guess kind of the most. I don't know. We'll see. Another thing I want to bring up. Do you make anything to the point, Chairman, where I don't know if you saw the Money in the Bank promo for Cody Rhodes walking around Allegiant Stadium, and he said that the winner of Money in the Bank has a chance to main event WrestleMania. Do you take anything like that into consideration where you go, maybe there might be something different with Money in the Bank this year? And that, because like, I feel like that's something that you wouldn't normally hear from the WWE in a promo about Money in the Bank. I mean, yes, technically they do have the chance to main event WrestleMania, but nobody's ever really said that as far as Money in the Bank, winning the Money in the Bank at this point. Like, it's normally like a chance to win the WWE Universal Championship. Do you read anything into that at all?
Honestly, no. I mean, yeah. I mean, if you're like a face Money in the Bank winner, which people in the past have done, I know Cena's done it before, they basically call their shot, like, I'm defending the title against you at this date. Like, hypothetically, someone wins Money in the Bank, they could say, guess what? I'm going to main event WrestleMania. But the thing is, you obviously grew up, when the days of, like, there's only 4 pay-per-views, like I did, and Royal Rumble was kind of the, winner would usually main event WrestleMania. Granted, it's not true every year, but obviously the winner of the Royal Rumble gets a World Championship match at WrestleMania. So I feel like that Money in the Bank, I mean, yeah, if you want to do the WrestleMania main event, cool. But I mean, obviously, I think, especially when you got Slimeball heels win them, you never know when they're going to cash in, and we haven't had a really good Money in the Bank winner, I feel like, in a long time. Like, I still remember, like Seth Rollins and Dolph Ziggler, when they had briefcases, they're always attempting to cash in, and their plans were thwarted for another day. Like, I mean, the women, I feel like, always just cash in, like, the night of the damn show, and it's just like, other than Carmella, who, like, had forever until she cashed in, but it's like, I need some good Money in the Bank winners again. Like, I don't know, it used to be one of my favorite pay-per-views, and I've attended a few of them live, and it's a fun experience, but then it's just like, I don't know, it's like, they really need to hit the home run this year on both the men and the women's briefcase holders. 2 people that we can get behind, 2 people that we want to see carry the briefcase around and make threats and, try cash-ins and, just something exciting again. I mean, this needs to hit this year, I feel, especially in the stadium.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of to the point now. I mean, they won't do this, but I'm kind of to the point now where I would be cool if they got rid of Money in the Bank for a few years. Like, there's only. I mean, yes, I know the Money in the Bank cash in gets a pop no matter how you do it. How you do it, no matter when it happens, you're gonna get a pop no matter what. But it's like one of those things where it's like, I mean, just take a few years off from it. Like, you don't need find ways to build and make a star on your own. I know that's pretty much impossible for the WWE nowadays, but I mean, look at what happened with fucking Otis and The Miz and, that whole shit, how that went down. And like you said, the women's stuff, you had Carmella hold it the longest, when she won the first one, and like you said, it's all been pretty much night of, next week of, if you want to count Asuka cashing it in because Becky went away because she was pregnant, please switch that up this year if you're going to go that route with the women. And actually, like you said, give us a reason, like, have it be somebody that you can, if you want to do it, win the Money in the Bank and build them up for 4, 5, 6 months. Make it be like make it be a Liv Morgan or an Aaliyah. Or, I don't know, like on the men's side. I mean, I kind of got a feeling on the men's side it's going to be Cody. But yeah, make it be somebody that you can build up as a star for the next few months rather than somebody that's been champion 5, 6 times, or like a guy like, Otis, who at the time was a comedy guy and you were never really going to push as far as, being a main guy on your TV shows, no matter what anybody else said. Anything else WWE wise? Like we said, Alexa Bliss is back. Nothing really too noteworthy there. It seems like she's kind of like half like her old Fiend self and half her normal self. She's still got that doll Lily. So we'll see. She's a star. She's a popular wrestler, so having her back, I guess, will be good. Finn Balor and AJ Styles teaming up together, like with their whole Too Sweet thing. I did get a kick out of So on Raw this past Monday, there was Rhea Ripley versus Liv Morgan, and Rhea Ripley won. And then afterwards, Liv Morgan is getting still attacked by Rhea Ripley with Edge and Damian Priest watching. And then, like, 2 minutes later, like, AJ and Finn come out separately. I'm like, okay, like, you guys didn't care about Liv getting beat up at all. I know it was like a woman beating up a woman, but, like, you couldn't have been like, hey, let me go help her out while she's getting like beat up by Rhea Ripley still. It's kind of like when Jeff Hardy went to go save his brother on AEW when he debuted and took time to parade around and do his dance as far as that goes. And I think that's pretty much it. I mean, obviously we haven't seen SmackDown yet, so we don't know what's going to happen there. We can't really comment on it. So yeah, I think that's pretty much it as far as WWE goes. On AEW, I want to bring up, I watched the Darby Allin Jeff Hardy match last night, and I just said to myself, I know this is Darby Allin's gimmick, and I know this is Jeff Hardy's thing forever, but I mean, at some point it's like, dude, just stop doing, like, they were taking so many unnecessary bumps last night during that match. I mean, that whole chair spot where Darby Allin went off the top of that huge ladder and then landed on Jeff Hardy and then falling back onto the chairs was just like so cringeworthy and unnecessary. And the same thing with all this, like Jeff Hardy taking I think he took a swanton on the steps. Like, come on, dude. Like, I understand this is your thing, but it's a TV main event, and it's like Jeff Hardy especially is to the point where he doesn't need to do this anymore, and his body is probably all broken down that in 5 years he won't be able to walk. And I like Darby Allin, but again, him taking a loss here in a big match like this, we're kind of back to the point where it's like, okay, what do we do next with Darby Allin after him taking the loss there? I mean, yeah, it probably doesn't affect him too much, but at some point he's got to start winning again. What did you think when you were watching that match last night, Chairman?
So, I talked last week. I was excited when I seen that Jeff Hardy and Darby Allin were paired together because basically they are literally like the same wrestler, kind of. I shouldn't say the same wrestler, no, the same wrestler, but like the high dives, the put the bodies on the line. Obviously I'm sure Jeff Hardy was an influence of Darby Allin. So, like, it was kind of cool seeing that match. There was some spots, though, man. I was like, oh, my God. Like, when Darby Allin went off the ladder through the floor, the chairs, and Jeff Hardy, I'm like, dude, you're about ready to take off like 10 years of your career by doing that, dude. Oh, my God. Yeah, and then, like, I saw one spot, like, so I said, hey, I don't remember if it was Darby or Jeff. I think it was Darby Allin doing a coffin drop, and he was freaking laying on the apron when Jeff moved. It's like,
Yep, that was the spot. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, then the steps one, and it's like, was I entertained? Absolutely. But the adult in me, like you said, it's like, you guys are gonna be walking in like 5 years if you keep this up, man. Especially when it's on free TV main event. Like, these are just like crazy spots, especially the Darby one. You save that for pay-per-view. You make people pay for that spot, man, if you're going to do it. You don't get so many of them spots, especially if you keep doing it like that, man. Far as, like, what they do with Darby Allin next, I mean, that's a good question. Honestly, I think you look at the brackets, that Jeff Hardy's facing Adam Cole. That the Young Bucks and the Hardy Boys are probably going to fight Double or Nothing. So you almost figure Matt and Nick are probably going to screw Jeff over to help Adam advance. So it's almost like storyline is dictating this bracket right now versus, putting Darby Allin over. But like you said too, I mean, Darby Allin isn't winning or loss ain't gonna hurt him. He's an established wrestler there, beloved by many. Former TNT champion. He's got Sting in his corner. He'll be fine. I don't know what he'll do at Double or Nothing. Knowing him, will probably be in like one of those like casino, brass ring ladder match or the hell they got going on, or some battle royal. I don't know. Maybe Sting will do a tornado match. I mean, the options are there. He'll find his way on the card.
Yeah, I think I saw a report earlier last week that like the plan for Double or Nothing right now is like 11 matches, and just like come on, guys, like. It's one thing if they're, all those matches could be good, but by the time the 7th or 8th match comes down, I'm just gonna be like, all right, come on, is this gonna be over? Like, there's only so long I can stay up. And yes, I understand the next day is Memorial Day, so like 90% of the people, well, not 90%, but like anybody that works a federal job or an office job is probably off. But it's like, all right, like, come on, can we just like not have this be this long this time? It's some point they got to learn to shorten up pay-per-view. That's why I kind of liked, WrestleMania Backlash was 6 matches, and, it helped that, it was still 3 hours, but it was only 6 matches, so, and, 2 of them I really didn't have to pay attention to. So, the other 4 were, okay, I can pay attention to them, and they're really good. Another thing that's came out about AEW, at least today, and part of me still thinks that this is people getting worked. I saw Sean Ross Sapp report that MJF is still unhappy with his contract, which expires in 2024, and that he's leaning toward not re-signing with AEW. And I'm just like, dude, I think you're getting worked. And even somebody said to him on Twitter, well, I think you're getting worked. And he was just like, well, if I am, I just move on to the next story. I'm like, no, if you're getting worked, dude, you're getting played by the wrestler. That's pretty bad. But I don't know. I mean, I think MJF has a connection with Bruce Pritchard back from their days when MJF was an MLW. So, and there was the report a while ago that WWE was going to be heavily interested in MJF when his contract expired in 2024. I mean, for me, listen, I'm all about people making as much money as they possibly can. And if MJF goes to the WWE and he can make, $3 million more than he can in AEW, and he wants to go do that, then by all means, good for him. Go ahead and make that money. I mean, I'm assuming that, and if he's smart, he'll wait till his contract expires to negotiate with both of them. That's what a smart guy would do. The contract expires. I'm sure, he hasn't, quote unquote, talked to anybody in WWE yet, but like I said, it doesn't mean, quote unquote, nobody's actually talked to him. I'm sure there's been some communication through back channels there. I mean, I think MJF would probably have to tone down his act a lot if he got to WWE. Obviously wouldn't be able to swear. I think he's only 6 feet tall too, so he's a shorter guy, which Vince doesn't like. But I don't know. I mean, it's too far out for me to even think about it. It's a year and a half away, so I don't even know why there's these big reports or stories about this at this point now anyways. And I'm sure Cody being there might help. And, their promo last night, he called Cody, I think, the American roller coaster. I don't get what that means. But that's what he called Cody last night. So what do you think? You think this is all a big work here, Chairman?
Oh, for sure, dude. There's no way MJF is going to WWE. I mean, I shouldn't say that because never say never. But it's like you said, he would have to tone down his character so much, man. A watered down MJF, his character is basically what makes people interested in him. He draws heat. He pisses people off. He pushes buttons. He freaking flips off people at meet and greets and doesn't smile, and then he makes fun of them on Twitter. He berates people left and right. I mean, the dude's a straight up asshole. His parents hate him, according to Twitter. I mean, it's you think this guy goes to very PG WWE? It's I don't see it. I mean, unless he's chasing the money and Vince or whoever overpays Tony Khan, I mean, yeah, that's his right to get paid. I mean, I think he could wrestle the WWE style, no problem. I mean, easily could wrestle their style. But I'm sure he probably has to work more dates too versus AEW. So, I mean, this is 2 years away, man. I don't even want to speculate on this right now. I'm more worried about wrestlers that are coming up in the next 6 months. He keeps bringing it up though a lot, but I think it's a work.
Yeah, let us know whose contracts are expiring sooner, and then maybe we'll try to figure out if they're leaving or going somewhere else. But like you said, a year and a half from now, I mean, he's going to have to tone down his act. I'm with you. It's if it'd be one thing if his contract was expiring in August. But he's doing good work in this Wardlow feud. I mean, even his work last night when he was playing along and cheering to the Long Island crowd, obviously since he's from Long Island, it's you could just tell in his tone that he's actually being a heel, making fun of everybody there. Even when he was even the people, I forgot what exactly he said, but it was even those people in the cheap seats, I know you're poor or something along those lines, but I want to hear you too. And that was good. So we get to see, I think, MJF whip Wardlow 10 times next week. And then, there's a cage match with Shawn Spears where he's going to be the special guest referee. And then if he gets through all that, then he finally gets to fight MJF, which I'm assuming should just be a complete. It should be a complete Wardlow squash, and we'll see if they actually go through and make it a complete Wardlow squash. So we'll get a little bit more into AEW as far as like the whole Double or Nothing card, obviously previewing that in a couple weeks. Did you see the stuff going on with Kota Ibushi and New Japan chairman on Twitter the last couple days?
I just caught it, and it caught my attention, obviously. And I was like, wow. Yeah, I was thinking, I mean, I saw this, I guess his deal's up. I mean, it happens. But then, like, he was answering all these questions, man. And he, like, basically threw New Japan under the bus, man. And a lot of people were comparing it to CM Punk's falling out with WWE. So I'm like, oh boy, this is bad. And then you got the people talking. I've seen, like, you know, obviously everybody knows that Kota Ibushi and Kenny Omega are really tight and good friends. And if Kenny wants to pull Kota to AEW hypothetically, but then AEW and New Japan kind of had a rocky relationship when everything started because obviously Kenny and the Bucks all left, and then now they're kind of doing that Forbidden Door show, so like time heals wounds. But now if Kota's trash New Japan, goes to AEW, that's going to be a whole shit show. So I don't know what to make of it. That's my thoughts on that.
Yeah, and I think I even saw that Kota brought up something about the Yakuza, in one of his latest tweets from recently. And of course, the Yakuza, I think is like, the Japanese like mafia mob in Japan, and I know I've seen stories about like them being involved in the Japanese wrestling scene in like the early 70s, 80s, 90s, as far as that goes. But I think he brought him up as something that was done more recently. So yeah, I don't know. It'll be interesting, like you said, especially with this Forbidden Door show coming up. And if Kenny doesn't like what he's hearing from his friend Kota, does he want to do this one-time thing, or do they go through with it again afterwards? Do they just get through the show? Does Tony Khan come calling again and try to get New Japan on board again with something WWE related? Who knows exactly? I doubt that will happen in the first place. But yeah, like I saw that the other day and I was reading about it. I was reading the translated tweets and I'm just like, well, geez, okay, Kota, you just went scorched earth on everybody in New Japan. And I know New Japan's been booked pretty horribly the last few years. I kind of wanted to pay attention. I kind of wanted to start watching the Best of Super Juniors, which I think start in the next few days again. So maybe I'll be able to catch that. But yeah, I was just like seeing Kota Ibushi just go off like that. It's like, oh, all right. That came out of nowhere. Good for you. I mean, he's been booked pretty badly in New Japan, but like I said, that's kind of the story of New Japan. Everybody's been booked badly in New Japan the last few years. All right, so that's kind of it news-wise. Nothing else really too much going on as far as the big news goes. Kind of touched on everything there. So let's get into this 20 years of Randy Orton that we've been putting off for a couple weeks, but we're going to get through it today. And hey, man, I don't know. I don't know if it's just me, Chairman, but it makes me feel old that I've pretty much watched all of Randy Orton's career in the WWE.
You think? Yeah, like, let's see. Randy Orton started, and I literally was like a year out of high school. So basically, my whole adult life, Randy Orton has been doing his thing. And this is completely unrelated to wrestling. I don't even know if you remember the game World of Warcraft, but I saw today that Leroy Jenkins, that whole thing, was 17 years old today. So I'm like, yep, I feel old now because of that. And then now we're talking about Randy Orton 20 years. And then, oh my God, man, it's like my life just flew past me, man. This is insane. I can't believe how much time has gone by, how long Randy Orton, and he's still looking great and still kicking ass, man. I mean, good for him. Most guys like fizzle out, man, like a couple of years in wrestling. He's still going great in 20.
Yeah, for me, so 2002, I was just graduating 8th grade, so a little bit of age difference there. But yeah, it's like, oh, man, like you said, I didn't play World of Warcraft, but yeah, I just look back at some of these things and you see it was this long ago when this happened. It's like, and you're getting to that point now we're in our 30s, and it's like, ugh, we got to get through this. Like, well, man, I remember that. Yep. It makes me even feel old when I just think about the fact that there are kids born nowadays, like what's that, 22, like there are kids born that are graduated that are in college that weren't alive for 9/11, and it's like, that makes me feel old. But yeah, I mean, I agree with you. Randy Orton seems like he slowly kind of reinvents himself, but at the same time, he kind of remains like how he was like over the last few years. But I mean, the crowd still is into him, and this tag team that he's got with Riddle going on now, RK Bro, is just something you haven't really seen with Orton ever in his career, this long tag team like this. Like, he had Rated RKO with Edge, and then there was obviously, Evolution, but he really wasn't in the tag team portion of Evolution. And then there was Legacy, but again, he really wasn't in a tag team in Legacy. So this is like the longest he's kind of been in a actual tag team in the WWE, and so it's something different. Obviously he doesn't have to wrestle a lot like singles matches every week anymore. So being in a tag team helps do less in the ring, and so that's good. And like you said, the crowd still is into him. It's one thing if he was a guy that's been around for 20 years now at this point and the crowd doesn't care anymore, but the crowd's still into him and they still like him, and that's all you could ask for, really. And he's probably making a good buck for doing what he's doing, so good for him. All right, so let's get into some memories here, moments. I guess I didn't really put this on here, but what's probably your favorite RKO out of nowhere, Chairman?
Oh, man. Yeah, there's a lot of them, man. I'm just going to spill it right here. Seth Rollins at WrestleMania 31. Like, I was just blown away by that one. The freaking curb stomp, and then Randy adjusts and just nails that RKO. And there's a ton of them, too, man. But that was my personal favorite.
Yeah, obviously the one with Evan Bourne is the one people know about the most. I actually thought the one he did this past Sunday at WrestleMania Backlash was pretty good, where Roman went to go for a Superman punch, and then he caught him midair and hit the RKO, and then one of the Usos, I don't remember which one, hit a super kick, and he kind of like stood there wobbly legged and just recovered and hit an RKO again. I thought those two were actually really good too from this past Sunday. So, but yeah, it's like one of those things where every so often you just get one that all of a sudden it's like, oh shit, there he is. And then you get to hear not really Michael Cole anymore because he's not on Raw, but like out of nowhere, Michael Cole call. But yeah, there's definitely been some good ones in the past. I don't know if any of them top the Shawn Michaels super kick on Shelton Benjamin, but I would say they're close. I would still probably put the Shawn Michaels super kick out of nowhere on Shelton Benjamin higher than any of the RKOs, but that's just me. So we're here to talk about Orton, like I said, some of his favorite feuds, matches. What do you think? What would you have to go with if you had to pick? Who would you say, I guess, would be Randy Orton's biggest career rival?
There's a lot of them, but I picked Triple H. And the reason why I picked Triple H is because when Randy Orton first kind of got popular, when he first, got brought into Evolution, obviously Triple H was his mentor, Ric Flair was his mentor, they were mentoring him at Batista. So, obviously, Randy Orton wins the World Heavyweight title, beats Chris Benoit at SummerSlam 04. Triple H, the next night, they're all celebrating. Well, he gives them the old thumbs down, kicks Orton out, takes the title off him at Unforgiven the next month. So, of course, that was a big, moment in his career, and I feel like that's a big rivalry. And they kind of revisited, had another big lengthy feud a few years later. I want to say 2009. Randy Orton's crazy freaking home invading, taking McMahon's out left and right. So, I mean, I feel like Triple H is definitely his best rival.
Yeah, I mean, I know people like to compare him to him and John Cena, but you go back and look at their careers, I can't think of one good Randy Orton John Cena match. And honestly, the one I remember the most actually that I think would probably be my favorite is there was an hour-long Iron Man match they did. I want to say at an Over the Limit pay-per-view, but I probably would go with Triple H too. There was a really good last man standing match that him and Triple H had. I should have had it up right away, but I don't have it up. But there was No Mercy. That's what it was, 2007. No Mercy 2007. They had a really good last man standing match that I remember watching it with my friends and being blown away with how good it actually was. And I think it was one of those things where whoever was champion was injured. So Triple H, I have it up right now. I don't remember who it was that was injured. They had to give up the title. But Triple H and Orton, he gave it to Orton, then Triple H fought Orton for the title, and Triple H won. Then Triple H defended it against Umaga later in the night and retained, and then they had a last man standing match in the main event that Randy Orton ended up winning. I just remember that last man standing match being very good. So I think that would put me over the top. Oh yeah, I remember that. I remember the home invasion angle because it was just so weird because they did it in WWE style where they had cameras already set up on the outside with Triple H and set up on the inside, and it was just one of those things where really you're I'm supposed to believe this is all happening. It's this is not anything Steve Austin invading Brian Pillman's house. This was just, it was just so weird. Like you said, I think one week he handcuffed Triple H to the ropes and then kissed Stephanie McMahon while Stephanie McMahon was unconscious. I think that something like that happened. That whole feud led to that big stinker of a WrestleMania match. But I would have to go with Triple H as well. As far as favorite matches go, I mean, I know the one everybody likes to go to is the hardcore match with Cactus Jack at Backlash 2004. I mean, God bless Mick Foley. He helped put so many people on the map. He pretty much solidified Triple H as a main eventer in 2000. And this series that like feud he had with Randy Orton in 2004, where like he was in the Royal, he got into the Royal Rumble and went after Orton. And then they had the 3-on-2 match, Evolution versus the Rock and Sock Connection at WrestleMania 20. Excuse me. And then they had this match at Backlash in 2004. That match, obviously, one that goes right to the top of the list with Randy Orton. I also like this series of matches against Christian in 2011, where Christian wins SmackDown the world title and then loses it the next SmackDown to Orton, and they have back and forth matches. I think they one at Over the Limit, one at Money in the Bank, and then the next one at SummerSlam. All very good matches there. That was the closest Christian was ever going to get to a top main event spot. But I really like that set of matches there as well. What are some of your favorite Randy Orton matches, Chairman?
Yeah, I also had the Backlash 04 with Cactus Jack, Mick Foley, written down. I mean, that's definitely, I feel like a passing of the torch kind of moment. Mick puts Orton over, and like you said, Mick, put a lot of guys over the years. One of the most selfless people in the business. Super nice guy too, if you ever meet him.
I think I brought this up before. I met him in an elevator once. Yes. Yes,
that's right. Yeah, he did a comedy show in my casino twice actually. Went to both times. Great guy. But yeah, I mean, I feel like that was kind of like a big win for Orton. Kind of started the Legend Killer persona, et cetera, et cetera. I also wrote down WrestleMania 30. We talked about this back when we were doing our WrestleMania favorite matches. And I feel like this triple threat with him, Batista, who's also in the 20-year club now, and Daniel Bryan. That match was just a banger, great main event. And obviously, it's more about Daniel Bryan than Randy Orton here, but obviously Randy Orton was part of that match, part of that story, honestly, because you go back to SummerSlam, Bryan beats Cena, and then of course Triple H and Orton catches Money in the Bank. So obviously Orton played into this story too, so give him props for that. That's probably one of more Orton's interesting runs as well.
Yeah, I agree. I also like there was a match with Shawn Michaels that took place at Survivor Series, was it Survivor Series? I think 2003, where the super kick was banned, and it was just one of those times where Shawn Michaels has been back for a year now. The super kick's banned, but everybody wants to see him win the title, so a lot of people are into the match. There's also, he's had some good matches with The Undertaker, too. I mean, there was a Hell in a Cell match. There was their match at WrestleMania 21. So a lot of stuff as far as Undertaker goes. Like I said, there was the match with John Cena that I liked. There's a really good match with, apparently, I haven't seen this match in forever, but an Intercontinental title match with Edge at Vengeance 2004 that I always see people getting high praise for, and I haven't watched it. I mean, I probably watched it when it happened, but I can't remember it off the top of my head. I probably should. If I would have had time, I would have gone back and watched it and see if it lives up to the hype. But it's on everybody's. You ever look at anybody's top list of Randy Orton matches, that match is on there. Any other ones you want to bring up?
Yeah, I was going to say, that was a good match. I watched that not that long ago when I was in my 04 run. And I remember seeing him wrestle Edge. And I was like, this is kind of weird because obviously, they become rated RKO a couple years later from that moment. But yeah, it's just wow. This is right before Edge was batshit fucking crazy too. So
yeah.
That's probably the match that tilted him, I bet.
Yeah. All right. So how about we talked about before? We talked about when we started talking about this how Randy Orton's had different periods of his career where it goes from Evolution, to Legacy, to Legend Killer, to corporate Randy Orton when he was the head of the oh my God, why is their name? The Authority. The name was slipping my head right now. Out of all these quote unquote time periods for Randy Orton, Chairman, what would you say was probably your favorite Randy Orton time period?
I was a huge fan when he first started, like Evolution. I felt like, he kind of had this like vibe, this look, he just carried himself real well. Like I seen them like once he was with Evolution, I'm like, okay, this guy is gonna be a man that stars someday. Like he just had it, and and it just felt like he kind of became the legend killer. He's beating all the legends up, and that was a great time. I was a big fan, so I was kind of hooked on him, and I missed a lot of his late 2000 run because that's when I quit watching wrestling, and I'm kind of easing my way through that right now. I'm watching the stuff with him and Cowboy Bob and the Undertaker, and I'm watching all that go down right now. So kind of living that life right now. But eventually, I want to see all that stuff, from the late 2000s. But I mean, I think the stuff he's doing right now with Matt Riddle is freaking fantastic too, though. Like Orton's like, and like, I just don't give a shit. I'm having the time of my life right now. So I mean, definitely, this is one of more Orton's fun times right now because like we talk about all the time. If Orton is interested and committed, he's one of the best. But he don't care, he's not interested. It goes downwards fast.
Yeah, I don't give a shit. Randy Orton is definitely one of my favorite versions of Randy Orton, and I'm with you as far as when he debuted winning the world title. I remember, excuse me, excuse me, SummerSlam 04 when he beat or I'm sorry, whoever he beat, I forgot who exactly it was. I don't remember the wrestler's name. That was one of the first pay-per-views that I actually that I bought. I'd gotten my first job that summer, so I was able to buy pay-per-views on my own with my at home. So it was one of the first ones that I ended up buying. So I remember watching that, being excited for that show and being pumped when Randy Orton won. And I thought he was like, I'm like, all right, here we go, like long title reign, and then he loses it the next month to Triple H. But yeah, that's definitely one of my favorite time periods. I think I really liked it too when it was about WrestleMania 20, like when Legacy broke up, WrestleMania 26, he was really hot then. Like, the crowd was dying for him to get back to just his, like, legend killer ways, and he was kind of getting to that point. I really like that time period, and like you said, I'm with you as far as this time period goes with what he's doing with Riddle. Like you said, he doesn't care, doesn't care in a way where like he doesn't give a shit and he can just go out there and be free and do whatever he wants. That's this Randy Orton. So yeah, I'm definitely enjoying. It's a good, like we talk about how like Chris Jericho always does things to rejuvenate his career. This is kind of like Orton's rejuvenating his career right here, as far as doing this tag team goes. So it's good for him. Where would you say, as we wrap up this talk here, Chairman, looking at Randy Orton, where do you think he ranks? Let's just not say all-time wrestler list. Let's just say WWE wise, where do you think he ranks on a list of all-time WWE wrestlers? I think like you have to think about it. I don't think he cracks my top 10. I think he probably would definitely get into the top 25, but I just don't know how high he would get on that list.
Yeah, I mean, top 10, no. I mean, obviously we got how many years of WWE, going. I mean, you just think of all the characters from like the 80s and the 90s, long before Orton came into the game, and obviously people he's been in the game with, like John Cena. Yeah, I'd probably say he's top 10. Orton, not so much. But top 25 is definitely a fair assessment. I mean, put me on the spot here. It'd be tough to really pick a number right now, but I'd say top 25 is definitely a fair assessment.
Yeah, I think 25 is a safe number. I mean, like you said, top 10, I'm putting, like I said, if you're just looking at what they've done career-wise in WWF career, you got Austin, Rock, Triple H, Cena, Hogan, Savage, Kurt Angle, Shawn Michaels. I think I have this 8 right there. Bret Hart is 9. Undertaker. We're already at 10. And then we didn't even bring
Roman
up
Reigns.
Yeah, Reigns, Chris Jericho, Randy Savage, Edge. Yeah, I mean, you want to get really into the early, if you want to go into the history of the WWF, Bruno Sammartino, obviously all the stuff he did early in his career, Andre the Giant. As you're going to look at draws and money goes, there's just so much to get to right there. But so that's why I said definitely not top, Yeah, Brooklyn Brawler, obviously. I mean, that kind of stuff. We've got, The Miz, obviously, and we're not going to throw Ronda Rousey and the women into the mix here. Yeah, like I said, it's like 25. You can definitely make a case probably if you really wanted to get to that point. So that is our little look back there at 20 years of Randy Orton and recap and everything. At some point, maybe it's next week, but maybe in the next few weeks, like we said, it's been this year. I think it was this week, 20 years. I think Chairman tagged me in a tweet, 20 years of Batista. So obviously that's going to be next on our list. And then at some point, we're going to have to get to John Cena as well. So 2002, very impactful year as far as.
Got two more questions for you.
Yeah.
What's left for Orton?
What is left for Orton? I think at some point, I feel like they're positioning Riddle for. I say this. I kind of get the feeling they're trying to focus Riddle more and get him for a world title run. I think you're going to get a Riddle Orton title match at some point, but it's not going to be one of those like one of them turns down the other feud. I think it's one of those things where it's like you can make the argument that Riddle wins next year's Royal Rumble, and Orton goes like Riddle's up like questioning, he's like, no, we're a tag team, and Orton's like, no, you have to go, like this is your time, and then you can get a respect Orton Riddle match at some point. I wouldn't put the title on him again. I don't think it's necessary, but I think you could get another 2 or 3 years of him doing what he's doing right now at minimum.
Yeah, I kind of figured. I had a list of things. Eventual match with Matt Riddle, how they want to get to it, and then of course the infamous question of, does he tie Ric Flair and John Cena at 16 world title reigns? And then the Hall of Fame is an obvious one. But the other thing I had too was, is there anyone that you would still like him to wrestle that he hasn't wrestled yet, or like a wrestler he hasn't wrestled in a long time?
Honestly, he hasn't really wrestled. I don't think he's wrestled this version of Roman Reigns. So I wouldn't mind seeing another Orton Reigns match. As far as that goes,
I wrote this down.
Yeah,
he hasn't faced one-on-one since 2015, so that needs to happen.
Yeah, that definitely needs to happen. Anybody else? Not really. There's nobody that really jumps out to me as. Maybe you get another Randy Orton Cody program, but again, I don't see either one of those guys turning heel anytime soon. The only other person who I think might work for this, and it would have to be at least a year down the line, for some reason I could see him and Grayson Waller and NXT having an interesting program and feud. That'd be the only other name that sticks out to me, but that's also just because I'm a fan of Grayson Waller and what I've seen him in NXT.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, because I had American Nightmare Cody, because obviously Cody was a boy when he left. He came back a man. And obviously there's a history of the legacy there.
Yep.
So I'm like, that match would be a main event for any major pay-per-view. Obviously, we talk about Riddle, Tribal Chief Roman Reigns. I don't think he's ever wrestled Finn Balor one-on-one. I don't know if there's a way to get there. I think Damian Priest could be an interesting one as well. And I think Ciampa.
Yeah, if you do the legacy match, you got to figure out what Ted DiBiase Jr. is doing nowadays and get him back up for it. He can be the special guest referee. And then, who knows? Maybe if he's still around in 2024, he can fight MJF at WrestleMania that year. Maybe we'll see that match. All right, so that is our show for this week. As I said, we're going to be doing 20 years of Batista coming up too, so we'll get to that, and obviously we'll have Double or Nothing to preview in a couple weeks as well. So for my co-host, the Chairman Stephen Vincent, I am Justin C. signing off, and we will talk to you guys next week.